another blessed morning. The program is the Dailies on Echo Television International, your winning station, where we keep you updated with what is happening from the papers. We still have aggrieved party members, especially in the APC, concerning who will be the Senate president, and also, talking about who will be the speaker as well. And then we still have the case, the presidential, petition of the tribunal is still in court. So we are having other cases being, shifted to the 17th, like that of the Labour Party. So you just keep your fingers crossed, sit properly, and then also, if you're actually cool, I will advise you to get a cup of hot tea, because we have a lot of stories, to keep you updated with this morning. I am Sarah Elisha, and of course, I have my great and beautiful co-presenter, Rachel Tansy. Good morning, Rachel.
Morning, Sarah.
How you doing?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm happy. It's Friday, Rachel,
yeah.
so I get to rest. We are live on Facebook and also on YouTube, so you can do well to drop your comment or contribution on any story that is of interest to you. And let us go through the paper, as Rachel will be taking us through the Nation newspaper.
On the Nation newspaper, Free Kanu as parting gift, Ohaneze tells Buhari. President Tinubu others celebrate Fasoranti at 97. 75,000 inmates feed with 22.4 billion naira annually, says federal government. Non-oil export proceeds to extract rebates, says CBN. You can find the details on page 7. Wike Makinde orders Sean Pali with Atiku and PDP leaders. Ex-VP laments party's decline. You can start with the story on the front page and continue on page 4. APC chairman to aggrieved lawmakers, hold your fire. And the rider following that, zoning of National Assembly top post not final. Yari Kalu Musa take protests to Secretariat. Umahi issues will be resolved amicably. You can find the details inside the paper on page 6. We have at the downside of the paper, live telecast motion for hearing Thursday. Federal government versus ASU court to rule May 30th. You can find the details inside the paper, and that's all the news on the Nation newspaper.
And a new National Star newspaper, we are having 22.44 billion naira spent on feeding 75,507 inmates coming from the federal government. And Rachel, while you were reading that story, I had to be patient to see if it's going to reflect on another paper.
Yes.
And we can see it's on the National Star. And I'm asking questions. If truly we're having such a huge amount of money being used to feed our inmates, and we're still having, you need to visit the prison. Richard, you need to visit this correctional center. You agree with me that a lot is happening. So it's either the federal government is giving this huge amount of money, somebody somewhere is cutting it down, because their feeding is not what is being reflected on our paper. That is the truth of this matter, because you need to visit, you see the water they drink, you need to see the food they are being fed with. You would agree with me that somebody is slashing this money. So I just hope that we'll have an audit. We keep talking about accountability. We keep talking about auditing of money. We'll hear that either for school children, so amount of money is being allocated, and then yet you go and then you see some of the food that is being given to them. You could actually tell that a plate of a meal given to them is not even up to 300 naira. Looking at when you talk about nutrition of the meal. So I just hope that at the time right now that we're having inflation, we're having food prices skyrocketing every day, I'm just hoping that exactly this is the money that is being used to feed. We're talking about annually. Then what are you going to talk about for the past 8 years of this administration? Yes. How much have they spent to feed inmates? So I'm just hoping that something will be done. If you, give such an amount of money, go back and cross-check how this money is being used. I know the president or the federal government cannot go there, but we have certain agency ask for an auditing to be done, so that you will be sure that every money you gave for a particular purpose is actually used for that particular purpose at the end of the day.
Yes, I keep saying it, and I will not stop saying it. I'll keep overemphasizing it. The greatest problem we have in Nigeria is corruption, Sele. If you are to look keenly to what is happening, we have budgets year in, year out. We see the money allocated to sectors, but we don't see improvement. Now, I keep saying it that growth is not an overnight thing. Like it doesn't happen. It's not magic. It takes process. And as long as there is consistency in doing the right thing, it doesn't matter how small or big the resources that is being pumped into a sector is, as long as there is consistency in that growth and there are people who are diligently doing their job, we will definitely see a growth in this country. So if we have 22 point something billion naira being given as the feeding for inmates just in a year, then I want to believe that that is not the only money that the government is being given into our correctional centers. It means other fundings are going to them, even to maintain the building, to make sure that the inmates are healthy, to make sure that every other thing is being taken care of. But just as you said, Sele, when you go to this correctional center, you will not believe, you will not even agree that this is how much is being spent or given to this this part of the country. So corruption is our greatest problem in Nigeria, and until we are ready to fight it with our blood and our sweat, we will never grow as a country. Because just as you said, you are giving out money and you are not following it. We don't take accountability and transparency seriously. You're giving out billions of naira and you feel there is no need for accountability or transparency. It's only in Nigeria you will see a governor celebrating becoming a billionaire without showing us the mega businesses or companies he owns. But as a governor, you and others will come and celebrate you that you have become a billionaire. On what business are you becoming a billionaire? But I believe this is a topic for another day. So corruption is what is really eating us, because we keep having a budget, we keep allocating funds, we don't see any growth, we don't see any growth. What us saying that Nigeria is heading somewhere, it means someone somewhere is mismanaging these funds, and this is not the way to go forward.
Of course, Rachel. Well, let's look at other stories on the new National Star. Court sacks separate energy management order SEC to appoint replacement. You can find more on page 13. With the big story, Tinubu must be sworn in on May 29, says the Labour Party fractional chairman. Describe Obi's agitation as impossible, unconstitutional. APC sponsoring Apapa Aribami to destabilize our party, coming from Abure. You can find that on page 23. And on Nigerian Air, how Buhari's government wasted $500 million on the White Elephant project. The writer said lack of national carrier responsible for high cost of international tickets, coming from the aviation expert. And we have an inauguration leave concert and award that is to actually before the handing over date. So for those who are interested, you can grab the new National Star with more detail of that story.
On the Matrix newspaper, Atiku seek revamping of PDP to regain power. INEC to publish candidate details for Bayelsa, Imo, Kogi, and Kogi Guba polls. You can find the details on page 4. Government feeds 75,000 inmates with 22.4 billion naira annually. The details you can find on page 4. Federal government approves 2.4 billion naira for high performance center at Abiola Stadium. Osibajo flags off dredging of Oguta Orashi River from Imo Seaport. The writer following that the dredging to link Imo to Degama in rivers and to the Atlantic Ocean. Project to be executed through a public-private partnership. Coming from Governor Ozodinma, Igbo people have no intention of seceding from Nigeria. This is coming from Iwayahu. You can read more of the details on page 4. The big story on the Matrix newspaper, Nigeria's rising debt profile. Trouble looms. Akebuzo raises alarm, says Nigeria's revenue too small to sustain debt size. Nigeria lagging behind in spending ratio. Nigeria's debt-to-revenue ratio higher than what was reported by Ministry of Finance. This is coming from the World Bank, and I believe that you should want to understand more concerning our debt profile and find the details on page 2. And on the 10th National Assembly leadership crisis, Kalu Yari order aggrieved APC senators-elect meet Adamu. Why we approve contract 18 days to handover, coming from ministers. CBN says BVN remains for life, no expiry date. At the downside of the paper, Tribunal adjourns Atiku's petition as INEC APC prepare response. And this is concerning the live coverage that Atiku and the PDP are demanding for. You can find the details on page 9. And we have a picture story where we can see the vice president at the dredging, at the opening of the dredging for the Imo and River State to the Atlantic Ocean. And that's all the news on the Matrix newspaper.
On the Vanguard newspaper, Angola overtakes Nigeria as the top African crude oil producer. I'm not surprised that are dead, and then our revenue, the ratio.
Yeah.
I think we have to do something about that. And I'll emphasize again, just like, you know, looking for Angola has taken over.
Yes.
You know what that means, Rachel. So I think it's high time we tied our belts. In case we've been sleeping, we need to wake up. Reality has actually faced us. So we need to do the right thing. Natural resources, we have our cash crops, looking at agriculture. We have rubber, we have crude oil. Just like I said, the oil. We still even have, talk about tin mining. A lot of things that, you know, we have so many things we can actually key into. So let's just do that and not get discouraged by what is happening. You can read more detail of that first story on page 19. Consumers raise concern as fruit sellers use chemical for ripening. You can find that on page 11. And of course, it's really a thing of concern. I think there was a time they were talking about preservation of pomo and the stockfish. But we can see that it's even alarming because of fruits, especially it's the mango season.
And
we'll see that fruit seller, bananas, exactly. See banana, I see mangoes, and then even other fruits that we are not really aware of. But for the meantime, I think banana and mango has been one of the fruits that they look for chemicals to make it, and it's very, very dangerous to their health. So maybe there should be kind of a way of monitoring all these fruits and then to know the better way. And then for food sellers, I know everybody just wants to make gain by all means, but then we should be very careful because at the end of the day, it's a detriment to other people's health. So I hope that we begin to see that being taken very serious. And we have other story, military onslaught, panic as fleeing terrorists approach Gwari. You can find that on page 11. And the big story on Senate presidency, Northern senators threaten revolt over voting template. With the writer, be bold, reject Tinubu's anointed candidate, senators tell the APC National Working Committee. Hold your fire, we will ensure justice, Adamu tells Kalu, Yari, Musa, and others. North Central APC insists on speakership. Party will revisit zoning formula coming from Hope Umahi. Says one can't be asked to be patriotic if intentionally excluded. You can find more